Hey there, and thank you for joining us. Now, if you're tuning in for this one, you are tuning in for Miss T with Studio T and Pass to Class in part 3 of how to engage your students. Now, if you haven't had a chance to do so, there's 2 other videos that you should dive into, part 1 and part 2. It'll give you kind of the gist because we're going on a journey, and every time we hit another level, we get a little deeper and a little deeper. Now, what I'm sharing with you today are just tips and strategies that I've used to build champions who are doing phenomenal things all over the world. So today, really, truly, I have one big tip. Now, this is something that I teach my dance captains, but this is something that has taken me years to learn. If you want to engage your students, love them. Now, I know that sounds super simple, and I know to some people it's just like a sugary thing that you say and you hug them and you high five them, but that's not exactly it. Sometimes love is tough. Sometimes love shows up when love don't feel like it. Sometimes love is consistent, especially when they're just like, is this working? My big fat tip for you today, if you are positioning yourself in front of a group of kids and you are their leader, their teacher, their educator, my primary, ultimate, big, humongous tip is love them. Now, what does that look like? I work with kids. Again, I go into communities where most people don't want to go just because of the difficulties that a lot of these young people have just with their day-to-day life. And when they're dealing with these difficult things in their day-to-day life, sometimes it develops a different kind of fight or a different kind of behavioral barrier that you got to break through in order to get them to learn and grow. And I learned that if you don't love them where they're at, if you don't stay consistent in your time with them, if you don't get there early and stay a little extra just because they need to know that you care, if you don't go above and beyond in your lesson planning, if you don't listen with the intent to serve when they're telling you what they like, what they don't like, what's difficult for them, if you're not watching their faces when they teach and you give them something and they start to tear up or they start to cry and you don't shift gears, you have to make sure that you are always teaching from a place of love. And again, what does that look like? That looks like asking the questions about their day and then being that person that can give them solutions to problems that are even difficult for you to hear and know and understand that they're going through with their day-to-day life. Again, what does that look like? Hug the one that don't like hugs. High five the ones that tries to get out the door before you can get to them. Put your hand on the shoulder of the one that's being a challenge and you tell them, I'm not going nowhere, you not going nowhere, we're going to beat this thing together. That's love. When they're telling you it's cold outside and you realize they don't have a coat, you find a way to get them a coat. When they're telling you they got to school this morning, but they didn't get a chance to eat, you pause. It's okay to pause the class and find an apple or something. That's love. We never know when the people that are coming into our realm, what it took for them to get into our realm. But if you're always teaching and coaching and developing and approaching them from a place of love, which is really just your servant's heart to make the difference, you won't know that. Remember this, educators, teachers, leaders, we all have the same potential to change somebody's life. And you never know which life you change that completely changes the whole world. So my tip for you today is 1, determine what does love look like to you. Then determine what does love look like to them. And when you find that, teach, develop, grow them from a place of love. Love never fails. So even when it's difficult, even when they challenge you, even when they're nasty with you, even when they don't want to learn from you, even when they don't want to show up and they show up anyway, grumbly and complaining, you love them. You love them right where they're at. And you let them know, I'm not going nowhere. You not going nowhere. So we gonna do this whether you like it or not. You gotta smile when you say that though, because sometimes you might get that one. They ain't gonna test you. They ain't gonna test you. But that's all right. You love them. You hug them. You let them know how important it is that they're here and that they're alive and that they showed up and that they committed and that they're sweating and that they're learning and that they're putting whatever heart they got into this and you putting whatever heart you got into this. And together you're going to build something that's going to be beautiful, that's going to change their life. So remember, there's a responsibility that comes with leadership. Never forget that. You owe no man nothing but to love them. So make sure these kids know, above all the academics, above all the dance choreography and stage shows, make sure they know this for sure. You love them. That is my tip for you today. You want to build a champion? Show them how loved they are. And they'll have the ability and the hope to do anything and become anything in the world. I hope this tip helps you in every life you touch. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.